Title: My father had one rule: never acknowledge the presence in the master bedroom. Help this channel grow. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories. This helps us a lot. Thank you. The story begins that he grew up in a house where silence was survival. His father had one rule that outweighed every other warning a parent could give. Never acknowledge the presence in the master bedroom. Not during the day. Not at night. Not even if it calls your name. What happened when that rule was broken is something he has carried like a curse. If you're brave enough, listen closely, and don't forget to subscribe. The rule was given long before he understood what fear truly meant. Marcus was 7 when his father first sat him down at the kitchen table and explained that some homes had problems that couldn't be fixed with tools or money. His father was not a superstitious man. He was a retired police officer with steady hands and a reputation for calm logic. He did not believe in ghosts, curses, or urban legends. But he believed in rules. There was only one that mattered. Never acknowledge the presence in the master bedroom. The house stood at the edge of a quiet cul-de-sac, wrapped in tall hedges that blocked it from neighbors' sight. It had been on the market for nearly 2 years before Marcus's father bought it at a price far below its value. The previous owners had left abruptly, most of their belongings still inside. Marcus remembered the day they moved in. The air inside felt stale, heavy with something older than dust. His father never allowed him inside the master bedroom. The door remained shut at all times. A thick strip of black weather seal lined its frame, newly installed. A lock was fitted not on the outside, but on the inside. His father had modified it that way himself. The rule came with conditions. If the door was closed, Marcus was to ignore it. If he heard movement inside, he was to ignore it. If the door was open, even slightly, he was to leave the house immediately and go to the neighbor's porch without looking back. And above all, if he ever saw anything inside that room, he was never to react. Not to scream. Not to speak. Not to run toward it. Not to acknowledge the presence. At first, Marcus thought it was a game. Something imaginative. A test of obedience. His father had always been strict but fair. There were punishments for breaking curfew, consequences for lying. But this rule carried something different. It wasn't enforced with anger. It was enforced with fear. The first time Marcus heard it, he was brushing his teeth. The master bedroom sat at the end of the hallway opposite the bathroom. As he spit into the sink, he heard a slow dragging sound from behind the door. It was faint but deliberate, like furniture being pulled inch by inch across hardwood floor. He froze. The house was empty except for him. His father worked night shifts then. Marcus had been alone for less than an hour. The dragging stopped. Then came 3 slow knocks from the inside of the bedroom door. Not loud. Not violent. Measured. Patient. Marcus remembered the rule. He kept brushing his teeth though the foam spilled down his chin. His small hands trembled so badly he dropped the toothbrush. It clattered against the sink, loud enough to echo. From inside the bedroom, something shifted. A soft scrape moved toward the door. Marcus didn't look. He stared at his reflection and pretended not to hear the knob turning slowly from the inside. It didn't open. It never opened. But the knob turned. When his father came home that night, Marcus said nothing. He had already learned the second, unspoken part of the rule. They never talked about it. Days passed normally. Sunlight filled the living room. The house felt almost ordinary in daylight. Marcus would sometimes forget about the bedroom entirely, until he passed it and noticed the faint line of shadow beneath the door. That shadow was wrong. Moved. Not like someone walking across a room. It shifted in uneven pulses as if something inside was swaying gently back and forth, inches from the crack beneath the door. Marcus started sleeping with his bedroom light on. Weeks later, the smell began. It crept into the hallway first. A damp, sour scent like wet soil left to rot in a sealed container. His father noticed immediately. Without a word, he placed another strip of seal along the base of the master bedroom door. That night, Marcus woke to the sound of breathing. Slow. Heavy. Close. He lay in bed, staring at the glow of his nightlight. The breathing was not in his room. It was in the hallway. The master bedroom door creaked softly. Marcus did not move. The breathing grew louder, filling the narrow corridor between their rooms. He imagined something standing there, tall enough to brush against the ceiling, bending unnaturally to fit inside the house. The breathing paused outside his door. A long silence followed. Then came a sound that would follow him for the rest of his life. A soft imitation of his father's voice, calling his name. Not perfectly. The tone was wrong. The rhythm staggered, like someone repeating syllables they didn't fully understand. Marcus pulled the blanket over his head and did exactly what he had been told. He did not answer. The next morning, his father's eyes were rimmed red as if he hadn't slept at all. He said nothing about the night. Instead, he reinforced the hinges on the master bedroom door. Marcus began noticing other things. The television would turn on by itself, always to static. Kitchen cabinets were found open, though his father insisted he had closed them. And sometimes when Marcus walked past the master bedroom, the door would be slightly ajar. Never wide enough to see inside. Just enough to reveal darkness thicker than the unlit hallway. Each time Marcus followed the rule. He left the house and waited on the neighbor's porch until his father came home. His father never asked why. He always knew. One afternoon, curiosity almost killed him. Marcus came home from school to find the house unusually quiet. No television. No hum of appliances. Even the air felt still. He placed his backpack by the stairs and noticed immediately that the master bedroom door was wide open. Wider than he had ever seen it. The hallway seemed longer than usual, stretching toward the open doorway like a throat waiting to swallow him. He remembered the rule. Don't look. But something pulled at him. A faint flicker of movement inside the room. He stepped closer before he realized what he was doing. The temperature dropped sharply with each step. The air smelled like earth and something metallic beneath it. He reached the threshold. The room inside did not look like a bedroom anymore. The walls appeared darker, stained unevenly as if soaked repeatedly and left to dry. The bed was still there, but it sagged at the center, the mattress sunken deeply as though something heavy rested there for years without shifting. And standing beside the bed was a shape. Too tall. Its head nearly touched the ceiling. Its limbs hung loosely, elongated in ways that made no anatomical sense. Its skin, or what passed for skin, looked stretched thin and damp, clinging to bone-like structures beneath. Its face was turned toward the doorway. Toward him. Marcus felt his throat tighten. The shape did not move suddenly. It did not rush him. It simply leaned forward slightly as if acknowledging that he had finally looked. Its mouth opened wider than any mouth should. And slowly, carefully, it began to smile. Marcus remembered the rule at the last possible second. Do not acknowledge it. His heart pounded violently, but he did not scream. He did not run. He did not speak. He lowered his eyes and stepped backward, forcing his breathing to stay quiet. The smile widened impossibly, stretching the skin around its face until something dark split at the corners. He turned away, walked down the hallway, opened the front door, stepped outside, and only then did he run. He didn't stop until he reached the neighbor's porch. He waited there for 2 hours before his father's car pulled into the driveway. His father looked at Marcus's face and understood immediately. That night, for the first time, his father broke the silence. He told Marcus the house had not always belonged to them. Years earlier, a man had lived there alone. The man had become convinced something shared the house with him. He sealed himself inside the master bedroom one night and was never seen again. When authorities forced the door open days later, the room was empty. No body. No blood. Just a smell of damp soil and a deep indentation in the mattress. His father had been one of the officers on that case. He had seen the indentation himself. He had felt the air in that room, thick and wrong, as though the walls were breathing. He bought the house years later because he believed something had been left unfinished. But he had been wrong. They weren't alone in the house. They had never been alone. That night, as Marcus lay awake, he heard the master bedroom door open again. Slowly. Carefully. The breathing returned to the hallway. And this time it didn't stop at his door. It moved past it. Toward his father's room. Marcus lay frozen, listening as the breathing deepened. Then came the sound of something dragging across the floor. And a soft knock. From inside his father's bedroom. Marcus understood then that the rule had changed. The presence was no longer waiting to be acknowledged. It was learning. And it was getting closer. Marcus did not sleep for the rest of that night. The dragging sound from his father's bedroom continued in slow, deliberate strokes, as though something heavy was being pulled across wood. It stopped only when the first gray light of morning pushed weakly through the curtains. Silence followed, sudden and complete. When Marcus stepped into the hallway, the master bedroom door was closed again. His father's bedroom door, however, was open. His father sat on the edge of his bed, fully dressed, staring at the opposite wall. His posture was rigid. His face was pale in a way Marcus had never seen before, not fear exactly, but recognition. He did not ask Marcus what he heard. He did not need to. That day, his father installed a second lock on the master bedroom door. This one was heavier, industrial grade. He reinforced the frame with steel brackets. He nailed a thin strip of wood above the threshold and sealed it with something that smelled sharp and chemical. Marcus watched silently. His father's hands trembled as he worked. That was the first time Marcus understood something important. The rule had never been about obedience. It had been about containment. For weeks after that night, the house felt wrong in a new way. The air grew heavier, pressing against the lungs like damp fabric. The smell of soil returned stronger than before, but now it carried something faintly sweet beneath it. Rot masked with decay. The master bedroom door began to pulse. Not visibly at first. It was subtle. Marcus would walk down the hallway and feel a vibration beneath his bare feet, rhythmic and low, as if something enormous inside the walls had a heartbeat. His father stopped going to work. He claimed illness, though Marcus never heard him cough or complain. Instead, he spent his days sitting in the living room facing the hallway. Watching. Waiting. Sometimes Marcus caught him whispering to himself. Not prayers. Not words Marcus could understand. Just fragments of sound as if rehearsing something. 3 nights after the dragging crossed into his father's room, the rule was tested again. Marcus woke to find his bedroom door open. He was certain he had closed it. The hallway light was on. And at the far end, the master bedroom door stood wide. Wider than before. The darkness inside the room looked thick, almost liquid. It spilled slightly into the hallway, spreading along the floor like a shadow with weight. Marcus's father stood in the middle of the hallway. He faced the open master bedroom. His back to Marcus. He was breathing heavily. Marcus remembered the rule and stayed inside his room. He watched from the crack of his doorway as his father slowly stepped closer to the master bedroom threshold. The darkness inside shifted. A tall shape unfolded from it, rising slowly until its head brushed the ceiling. It seemed larger now, less confined. Its limbs bent at angles that did not align with joints. Its torso stretched and compressed in slow pulses, as if adapting to gravity. Marcus pressed his hand against his mouth to keep from making a sound. His father took another step forward. And then another. The shape leaned down toward him. Its face, if it could be called that, was clearer now. The skin appeared thin and translucent, stretched tightly over something moving beneath it. Veins pulsed sluggishly. The mouth opened in that impossible smile Marcus had seen before. Marcus's father raised his head. For years he had enforced the rule with absolute precision. Never acknowledged the presence. But now he was staring directly at it. The hallway seemed to constrict. The walls creaked softly as though pressure from within strained against the structure. The presence leaned closer. Marcus saw his father's lips move. He did not hear words. He did not need to. Acknowledgement did not require sound. It required recognition. The moment his father's eyes locked with the thing's face, the air shifted violently. A deep vibration rippled through the floorboards. The darkness surged outward from the bedroom like a released tide. Marcus felt it hit him even from down the hall. The lights flickered and went out. In the pitch black there was only breathing. Not just one set. Many. Layered. Surrounding. Marcus closed his eyes and remembered the rule. He said nothing. The breathing grew louder, overlapping in uneven rhythms. Something brushed against the walls. Something else scraped along the ceiling. Then came a single sharp crack. Like wood splitting under strain. A thud followed. Heavy. Final. Silence returned slowly like dust settling. When the lights flickered back on, the hallway was empty. The master bedroom door was closed. His father was gone. There was no blood. No sign of struggle. Only a deep indentation in the hallway floorboards, as if something immense had pressed downward before vanishing. Marcus did not scream. He did not run. He walked into the living room and sat on the couch exactly where his father had been sitting for days. He stared at the hallway. Hours passed. Night fell again. The house felt different. Bigger. Colder. The rule had failed. And yet, the master bedroom door remained closed. Marcus understood something then with terrifying clarity. The presence had not needed to chase or drag his father away. His father had given it permission. Acknowledgement was invitation. Recognition was access. The next night, Marcus heard movement inside the master bedroom again. But it was no longer contained. Footsteps echoed faintly from the ceiling. Slow dragging sounds traced the walls. The breathing came from inside the vents. It was no longer a single presence. It had multiplied. Marcus stayed silent. Days blurred together. No one came looking for his father. There were no relatives nearby. His father had always kept to himself. The house became Marcus's entire world. He ate sparingly, slept lightly, watched the hallway constantly. The master bedroom door no longer needed to open. Shadows leaked from beneath it in thin tendrils, curling across the floor and retreating when Marcus noticed them. One evening while sitting on the couch, Marcus felt something shift beside him. The cushion dipped, slowly, as if someone had taken a seat. The breathing began again right next to his ear. He kept his eyes forward. His heart pounded violently, but he forced his face to remain neutral. The cushion dipped further. A cold sensation brushed his arm. The breathing mimicked his rhythm. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Was learning him, testing him. The rule remained the only barrier between him and whatever had taken his father. Never acknowledged the presence. Tears slid silently down his face, but he did not move. Minutes stretched unbearably. Eventually the cushion lifted. The breathing receded. But it did not go back to the master bedroom. That night, Marcus dreamed for the first time since his father vanished. In the dream he stood inside the master bedroom. The walls pulsed like living tissue. The bed's indentation was deeper now, wide enough to swallow a body whole. The tall shape stood at the foot of the bed, but it was no longer alone. Behind it, others unfolded from the darkness. Smaller, thinner, their faces incomplete. They swayed gently, waiting. The tallest one leaned down toward him, and this time it did not smile. It opened its mouth and from it came his father's voice, perfectly formed, calling his name. Marcus woke with a start. The master bedroom door was open. Not wide, just enough. The hallway was darker than it should have been. The air felt charged, expectant. Marcus stood slowly. Every instinct screamed at him to hide. But something deeper told him the rule was reaching its end. The house would not let him leave. It had sealed doors before without physical locks. It had shifted rooms subtly, bending space in ways he could not explain. Running would not save him. The only thing that had ever worked was silence. He stepped into the hallway. The open doorway waited. The darkness inside seemed to breathe. He approached slowly, heart hammering. At the threshold he stopped. The room inside no longer resembled any version of a bedroom. The walls were slick and uneven. The ceiling appeared higher than the house allowed. The bed was gone. In its place was a hollow depression in the floor. Endless. Something moved within it. Shapes rising and sinking like bodies submerged in thick liquid. He felt their awareness turn toward him. The air vibrated with restrained anticipation. He understood what they wanted. Not fear. Not resistance. Recognition. An audience. He lowered his eyes. He stepped back. And he did not acknowledge them. The darkness recoiled violently. A deep, resonant vibration shook the house. Cracks splintered across the walls. The floor buckled slightly beneath his feet. The presence surged upward from the hollow, stretching toward him, but it stopped at the doorway. An invisible boundary held. The rule was not broken. The house groaned as though wounded. Marcus retreated down the hallway without looking up. Behind him, the darkness shrank back into the room. The door slammed shut on its own. The locks clicked into place. Silence fell again. Morning came slowly. For the first time in weeks, the air felt lighter. The smell was fading. The master bedroom door remained closed. Marcus waited all day. No dragging. No breathing. No shifting shadows. Night passed quietly. And the next. And the next. The presence had retreated. But it had not disappeared. Marcus understood that it would always be there, contained not by locks or steel but by denial. Years later, after he was taken into foster care and the house was eventually demolished, workers reported something strange. The master bedroom had no foundation beneath it. When the floor was removed, there was only a deep, hollow cavity extending far below the house. No soil. No pipes. Just darkness. Marcus never returned. But sometimes in the quiet moments before sleep, he hears breathing beside him. Measured. Patient. Waiting. He keeps his eyes closed. He does not acknowledge it. Because he knows now the rule was never just for that house. It was for him. And whatever learned his name is still listening. Some rules exist for a reason. Some doors stay closed because opening them invites something that never leaves. If this story unsettled you, imagine living it, and remember, silence can be survival. If you want more real, dark horror that lingers long after the video ends, subscribe now. And tonight, if you hear breathing in the dark, don't acknowledge it.